Hello, welcome back. We weren't gone long, and we're back in the studio with our first guest of the day, Paula. So, Paula, hello.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Oh, great to be here again, second day.
Perfect. So, do you want to tell the audience who you are and what you do?
Yep, I'm Paula Cashmore, an independent care quality consultant. I run face-to-face audit and inspections, and I do online support platform. My strapline is affordable, non-judgmental, because I know there's a lot of people out there that need the help, but they just don't know where to go.
Yeah. Perfect. And you were talking yesterday on a panel, or did you have your... Yeah?
Yes, I was on a panel in the morning in the Design Theatre talking with Russell about quality of life in care homes and how we can improve that, not just with the design, but maintaining people's independence, and all these things are just really important to discuss.
There's definitely sort of broadly a push away from clinical settings. It's like trying to find that balance, I suppose, between it being clinical because you need it to be easy to clean, and you need, there are certain situations where you need equipment, certain bits of equipment needs to get in and out, but actually still then making it feel like someone's home. And
that's interesting because that then overlaps with what I was speaking on the afternoon. So I was speaking with an ex-CQC colleague around about the single assessment framework and the evidence categories. And I think it's really important, like you say, we are in nursing homes in a clinical environment. We do clinical things. Residential homes, we are regulated. Supported living, CQC regulations are there to protect people. And we do have to evidence that we are working according to regulations, but it's not all tick boxes. And that's the thing that Julie and I were keen to tell people, and keen to say in our design in the morning panel, the way you set out your lounge will speak volumes. Your evidence doesn't have to be your activities folder. Your evidence can be you have 3 groups of chairs in your lounge where people can interact. You are promoting community, and it's not that chairs around the edge of the room isolating. So things like that are important to remember when you're looking at your evidences. Because
that's the sort of archetypal look of a care home lounge, isn't it? Chairs around the edge, big TV on the wall with kind of scrolling news or old movies on, and people sort of looking to disengage, which is not how you would normally...
We don't live like that, do we? When we're at a family party, even if we have a lot of people, you're separated into groups, and you mill around. You go from one group to another, but you don't all sit around the edge of a family party hall. So it's important. I can understand it from an efficiency and a handling point of view when you've got to get hoists in it, and when you're moving wheelchairs. All these things need to be planned, but they can be done without institutionalising people.
I had an interesting conversation yesterday with Adam Hutchinson from Belmont Healthcare, and he was taking over a big unit, which is like that old school central hub, corridor, and it's a real challenge to turn that into something that doesn't feel super like a 1950s mental hospital, right? Like you're really trying to bring that to life, being quite creative with little pockets of space and stuff like that. So when you go into lots of different settings, what stood out to you recently as something you think, I really want to share about that best practice, or the other way, it's something else?
What I'm really finding is managers want to learn. And it's almost like we've come to a point in social care where managers have to relearn how to be a manager, because the system has changed. Social care is fighting and battling to be recognised. Care managers care. And what I'm finding is managers care so much, they always say yes. They say yes to their NHS colleagues, they say yes to the local authority colleagues. They take on tasks, they take on roles that technically aren't their responsibility. Now, they've done this for the past 10 years.
They're trying to help, right?
They're trying to help. It helps smooth running. but they just don't have the capacity now. Things like delegated healthcare tasks from the NHS, they're putting incredible pressures, whereas they were a nice to have years ago, and it showed enthusiasm from a manager for professional development. Now it's expected when the resources aren't there. And so I think we have to, I love the fact that managers are now being empowered to think, what is my responsibility? I will fulfill my responsibility to the best of my ability and protect the time and the resources for my service users. And that is really important, because I think we've got to shift a little bit in that area.
Seems to me like there might be a little bit of kind of everybody's got a different pot of money and responsibilities, and in an they're all connected together over and above the top. The NHS trust budget,
they should be.
The local council, the ICB budget. It is ultimately the same money, but then everyone gets it into their pot. So the person's in hospital needs to come out and be funded by the local authority, which is much cheaper overall than being in the hospital. But then the local authority is paying to give up their money, and so it's quite. I think there seems to still be quite a lot of friction from that side of things. Do you see that, and when you're going?
Totally. I've got friends that are in commissioning in the NHS. They have previously worked in commissioning with social care, and the frustration is that there's so much protection going on of own little kingdoms and budgets. I went to a King's Fund lecture a few years ago, and somebody was talking to the Indian government about developing social care, and the key takeaway was, don't separate the health and social care budgets, because once you separate them, there will be fights over who pays for what, and the person that comes off the worst in that is the person needing the care. So and that's where we're at.
Because they're still too separate from each other. So in terms of kind of when you're going into settings and helping advise them on running better as an organisation, any tips and tricks around sort of funding and how they should engage with that and what to do?
I think one of the big things is lack of duplication. If you are more efficient in collecting your evidence, rather than doing 72 audits and taking 72 hours, let's condense those audits to be 20 audits that are far more robust, and you've saved 50 hours of work for whoever it is. And if we can do that across all of the departments, then you're already budget saving.
So when you say an audit, what's that?
It's
that in the context of?
When you're checking the quality, when you're checking your service delivery, whether that's in the housekeeping, whether that's in the kitchen, when you're checking what you're doing in your service to analyse, get the themes and trends, and ensure that you're delivering a good quality service, that you've got no gaps, then that's an audit. You're looking at things and you're seeing what you need to improve or what's missing.
Okay. So when you go into a home for the first time, what are the first things that you look out for? Do you have an order in your head of like, I'm going to check this and this, or how do you in that first 6 hours, 8 hours you're there, what are the things that you go to first? The
first one is chat to the manager. See what the priorities are with the manager, see where the struggles are, ask about their processes. Once I know what their processes are, I will know where to look, and then we just go through different parts of the quality statements, tie them to the regulations, and see whether there are gaps. There's nowhere perfect, and we know, we're working with a lot of people, and people aren't perfect. So it's understanding how big the gaps are. Sometimes gaps are just normal and they need to be plugged. Others are great big cracks and they're breaches of regulation. So it's highlighting what needs to happen. Is it a small gap or a big crack?
Yeah, okay, interesting. And do you tend to work in places for a little while? Do you stay for a week? How do you normally work?
And this is where I wear two or three different hats, in that if I'm doing what's colloquially called a mock inspection, I will be in just for one day. I will do the remote work on their digital systems to triangulate what I find on the second day and write a report for the third day.
Yeah.
And then part of my package is I will provide email support, because sometimes you give somebody an action plan, you don't want to give them an action plan and walk away, because if they've got into those difficulties in the first place, it means that they probably need some support to know how to plug those gaps. So for 3 months following, I'm available for information and support. And then from a mentoring point of view, if somebody needs, I'm not a quick turnaround expert, but I do come alongside managers to improve practice and see what needs to be done and work with them to get their experience to a different level.
Okay. And how are homes, obviously we're a couple of years on now from the change in the framework and the way that a CQC inspection's done. Are homes sort of up to speed with it now, or is it still very, is it still very unfamiliar for them?
I think it's still very unsettled because of the changes in CQC, because in many ways CQC have failed a lot and they've had change in leadership. Their digital system still isn't working for managers. So we've gone back 10 years to notifications by email, and that can be really frustrating. I think the biggest message is regulations haven't changed. So the single assessment framework is for CQC to put their evidence into their framework. It's not for homes to develop an evidence folder.
Yeah.
Just carry on giving good care, evidence that good care.
Guess when my local doctor's surgery last had its CQC inspection?
Oh, is it about 8 years ago?
2016.
Yeah.
So good nearly 10 years.
Yes.
No, is it 2026? No, it's 2025 still.
2025.
It's 2025,
yes,
so it's nearly 2026. There you go. So it's mad, isn't it, to think that how much has changed. I think it's changed hands a couple of times since then, or something like that. So it's I think as well the customer, so the family member, or the customer's normally the resident that lives with you, but ultimately the care seeker normally, the family member.
Yes.
And they're getting wise to that, and that's why interesting things like Open Score from Debbie Harris that does those different, that gives that customer a different way to look at it. Because you look at a report, that's good, and then you realise that's from 2018, and you think, well...
And even if a report is 2 years old, a change of manager, change of staff, things can improve as well as deteriorate very quickly in the care sector. So your current feedback, like you say with the different platforms, the current feedback, Google reviews, carehome.co.uk, they're far more valuable than a CQC report that's even 2 years old, yet alone one that's 11 years old. Right,
I've got a final question for you. It's a bit of a spicy one.
That sounds interesting.
If you're a biscuit, what type of biscuit would you be?
I think a good old traditional custard cream.
Custard cream? That you're the first person to say custard cream, actually.
Okay.
That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
Nice
and
any thoughts?
old-fashioned.
Do you want to unpack that from a psychological perspective?
From a psychological perspective,
blonde biscuit, of course. There you go.
Blonde. Old-fashioned, but good and solid. Nice.
Dunk it in the tea.
Dunk it in the tea, bit of everything, bit crunch, bit cream,
How do you feel about, if you do fly too close to the sun, dunk it for a bit too long and you lose some biscuit in your tea? What's your scenario there? Are you going to eat the sludge at the bottom of the cup or not?
Definitely not. You get down to half the cup and you think, no, too many bits there.
Do you know what? I've asked that to everybody. And there's only two people that said they'd eat the sludge. Me and Nadra from...
Right.
So it's interesting. So I thought everyone would eat the sludge, but there you go. Thank you very much for coming. It's been nice
Thanks a lot,
to talk to you.
York. It's lovely to be here again.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Lovely. We'll be back shortly.